a massive argument, to be honest, from Lee Judges and Dan Potts after Arsenal crash out of PSG. A massive argument over the season for Arteta and Arsenal Football Club. Who's at fault for this failure of a season for Arsenal? And is it even a failure for Arsenal? Is Arteta the reason why Arsenal are out of the Champions League? Or he is the reason why Arsenal are there? Let's listen to what Lee said. Let's listen to what Dan Potts said. It is astonishing how some Arsenal fans can think that Arteta is good and Arteta can get them over the line and Arteta can get this team to glory, and other fans that think that Arteta is not the right man for them. I find it really intriguing, of course, how two people that stream with each other a lot can actually have a completely different opinions about things. I want to listen to what Lee said, and I want to listen to what Dan Potts said in the interviews over at AFTV after the crash out from Arsenal yesterday against a better team in PSG. Before we listen to them, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and shout out to AFTV for recording these videos as well. And listen, all I want you to say is that open your mind, have an open mind when you listen to both. I want to know what you guys think in the comment about who's right and who is wrong. Is Lee Judges right about what he said about Arteta? Is Dan Potts right? I know a lot of people call this guy extra positive and they call this guy extra negative, but you got to have an open mind when you listen to these interviews, because listen, fans can think differently and you need to understand this. As a football fan, even I have it for myself that I think different than other fans of my football club. We think differently, we approach things differently, of course. So I want you to just open your mind and let's listen to what Lee have said, because he said some really, really good things about Arteta, but also he has criticized his team. And we'll listen to Dan Potts and what he said. So let's hear and see what he said.
Was there any more that Arsenal could have done, or was PSG the bet? No,
there's nothing more we could have done today. We give it a great shot today. We worked really hard. We played well, but we just have not got enough going forward. You know, I thought Mourinho played very well today. I thought he was very, very good in there. Yeah. A hold-up play and all that, but missed a good header. It just isn't that centre forward that you need.
So if Havertz was there, does that change?
I'm not saying Havertz neither. I think you need a proper centre forward. Kai Havertz is a very, very good footballer, but he's not a proper centre forward. You know, listen.
The fact that Lee is saying that the team played well, I completely disagree with him. The team didn't play well. Their captain was not playing well, Martin Odegaard. I thought Saka didn't have a greatest game. I thought Moreno was fighting and everything, as he said, but it wasn't good enough. Like, Moreno didn't play as well as he played against Real Madrid, or as well as he played in the league over some of the games that he played center forward. I thought he was lackluster up top. He was a little bit sluggish up top. So I disagree with him on this point. I thought the team didn't approach the game the right way. Yes, they pressed in the beginning, but after this, after 15 minutes, Arsenal completely disappeared from the game, especially after the goal. They created nothing from after PSG scored the goal. They created in the beginning, but they created nothing. Let's hear what he says about Mikel Arteta.
There's deficiencies in the team. There's deficiencies, you know, all over.
Yeah.
You know, look, listen, the manager, I'm saying it now, the reason that we're here, Champions League semi-final, is because of him.
That's a big, it's a big statement, because
it is because of him. Because when he took over, he was going nowhere. But I tell you this now: the reason that we're out tonight is because of him as well.
Because I was going to say that
it is very strange what Lee have said here. That the reason why Arsenal are in the Champions League semi-final is Mikel Arteta. He's given him credit, and I want to know what you guys think. He's given him the credit for Arsenal to be in a semi-final of the Champions League, where 5 years ago they couldn't have dreamt of being in a semi-final in the Champions League. But also him saying that the reason why we're out is because of Mikel Arteta. I want to see how he analyzes why Mikel Arteta is the reason why they're out.
You know, there's words. You know, Man United, Spurs, they could end up winning a trophy this season. Chelsea could be winning. So and everyone will look at and laugh at them on to Arsenal.
Because at the end of it, we're not quite good enough when it matters. But when you're playing top class sides, you've got to have top class players in certain areas. And over the last 2 games, we've been found out. Listen, you go back to the Real Madrid game. It took 2 very, very good free kicks to get us into that position. Yeah. But we've been. Let's get it out there now. We've been poor since January. We've been poor in the league.
I disagree with him. Yes, they got 2 free kicks against Real Madrid, but I thought Arsenal overall were much, much better than Real Madrid. Tactically, the players performed well. Tactically, they were superior. It is not, the free kicks are just the fruit. It's just the cherry on the top. But overall performance, it was very, very good from Arsenal against Real Madrid. But these games against PSG, I thought they were poor. I thought they couldn't even replicate 50% of how they played against Real Madrid.
Well, I know we've been knocked out of the FA Cup, we've been knocked out of the League Cup, and we've been knocked out of the Champions League, and we're not winning games. And the reason is because you haven't got the striker that gets you over the line.
I actually a little bit agree, but also there is a part of me that disagrees with this. It is not only about the striker. You beat Real Madrid with Mikel Arteta who scored. You beat some teams in the league. Yes, you need a proper number 9. Yes, you do that. But also you got to look at Arteta's tactics. You got to look at how he approached this game. The 2 games actually against PSG, I thought they were completely wrong. He got the first game wrong. And yes, he started good in the first 15 minutes. But after this, as I mentioned before, Arsenal were lackluster. So to me, I disagree a little bit with Lee Judges, what he said here. Just the last part, let me just hear the last part of what he said before we move to Dan Potts.
And that is it, you know, the reasons for getting you over the line. You can look at the manager and everything else there, but at the end of it, we had at one stage in this campaign, we didn't have Saka, we didn't have Havertz, we didn't have Martinelli, and we didn't have Jesus. And this football club done absolutely nothing about it. But hey,
is correct. He's blaming the ownership about not signing people and about not getting the proper replacements. But also in the same time, you got to look at this and say that Mikel Arteta is heavily involved in transfers. It's a choice not to get a backup for Saka. It's a choice not to get a striker in the beginning of the season because you were waiting for Cisco. So to me, if I'm looking at this, the Arteta has to be blamed for this. Arteta has to be blamed for this. Yes, he was crying for a striker in January. They went for Oli Watkins. But there are other people that you could have signed. You could have tried for someone else, but they wanted to wait until the summer. And when you knew that Kai Havertz is injured, when you knew that Gabriel Jesus is injured, buy somebody. Maybe that someone that you bought could have been the reason why you go to a Champions League final and maybe call the season better than now, because now you're out of the semi-final. Maybe because you don't have a striker, but I disagree with that. It's because of the tactics of Mikel Arteta in these 2 games. But listen, let's hear what Dan Potts has to say, because I want to hear what he says, to be honest with you. Hit that like button if you're still here. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And let's hear what Dan Potts has to say.
I'm apparently the negative one. I actually thought we would have won tonight. We would have gone and won the Champions League. Unfortunately, we're not going to find out now. And look, I don't want to start coming on. I don't want to become an echo chamber and people to get bored of me saying this all the time about, oh, you just hate the manager, you just hate the manager. But tonight I was disappointed with him again, because for the first 15, 20, I thought to myself, here we go. 15, 20, this is looking good. The intensity is there. We're in the first tackle. All of our duels are being won. There's actually some creativity. Martinelli's beating his man. I thought he had Hakimi on toast for the first 15.
Yeah, he did.
Rice has got to do better with his header. Potentially, you look at Martinelli with that chance. Donnarumma makes 2 world-class saves against Ødegaard and Martinelli. Then you look at the scenario of the last couple of saves that he made in the second half. But I didn't see any proactiveness from the manager again. I've got to be real with you.
I totally agree with Dan. You played well in the first 15 minutes, and then after this, after PSG scored, you completely disappeared from the game. Martin Ødegaard should have been subbed out. And instead of subbing out Martinelli, maybe at 2-0 down or 1-0 down, you could have put Trossard for Ødegaard or even Nwaneri. Put Trossard in, play 2-striker formation, let Declan Rice and Partey roam in the middle, and just give it a go. But he kept being a little bit cautious. He didn't go for it until at the end. And I thought he was a little bit negative in this game, to be honest. Mikel Arteta, by keeping Ødegaard, by subbing a winger for a winger. Yes, Trossard played well, but also you got to look at, like, change things, make things different a little bit. Putting Calafiori and Ben White in for Timber and Miles Lewis Kelly, it didn't change a lot, to be honest. It didn't change a lot. You're putting a fullback for a fullback. Maybe you could have gone for it, like what other teams do. You could have played two strikers. Just put anything at this point. You're losing. You're crashing out of the Champions League. What is there to wait for? There is nothing. There is nothing. And I hear what Dan is saying, to be honest here.
Sat on his hands again, and I understand that he made changes, but if Ben White and Calafiori are coming on when you need to score 2 goals, I'm not really sure that's very proactive, and I'm not really sure that's very creative. Then I look at Trossard coming on. Yeah, I actually thought he was all right.
He did well. He did well.
I thought he did well. But it was like for like with Martinelli. And then I'm thinking, right, it's 75 minutes. Ethan, where are you? 80 minutes. Ethan? Anyone seen Ethan? 85? Ethan? Wow, 90? Ethan? He's not going to bring him on. No. Wow. Now that's poor, Mai. Yeah, when I look at the scenario of who have we got, not really any spark, not really any moments players, not really any creativity. The first thing I saw that I thought Ethan needs to come on, James and me said it on the watch along. Saka cuts in, has a shot, it's looking like it's going top bins to the left, and Donnarumma makes a brilliant save. And I'm thinking, Ethan, bring him on, because he
Exactly what I'm saying. This is when you know that you needed someone like Ethan instead of Odegaard to be behind the forwards, to try some shots, to try something. Okay, you gave Odegaard that chance and he completely collapsed in this game. He was anonymous in this game, to be honest. So for me, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, Mikel Arteta, be brave and bring on someone for Martin Odegaard. Bring on Nwaneri, do something different, but he didn't. He didn't, and he bottled it, to be honest with you. He bottled it.
He does that. He does that. He ain't going to make some world-class saves like that all night. Let's do it. Doesn't bother to bring him on. So I've got to ask, this goes back now to everything that was wrong at the season gone. We look at the start of it. The summer was a shambles. Yeah. Marino was our best signing, and he's our striker.
Now Dan is going to go on the signings and all this stuff. But Mikel Arteta has to be blamed for this, because why are you not trusting Nwaneri? If you chose to have Nwaneri as a replacement for Odegaard, why can't you trust him in a game when everything is on the line? You lost the league, you lost the cups. This is the Champions League semi-final. You're in it to win it. So go and get someone else other than Martin Odegaard. Mikel Arteta have completely let people down, let Arsenal people down, of course. As Dan is saying, he is correct. And he's going to go and talk about the world-class managers and all the stuff. It's going to be next season again. You know it. Mikel Arteta's not going anywhere. And you know what is going to happen. He's going to stay. He isn't going to go anywhere. So let me know what you guys think about what Lee and Dan have said. Big up to both of them. Big up to AFTV. And good luck to Arsenal again in next season again. It is going to be all over again. We're going to repeat the same thing in the summer. Who are they going to sign? What is going to happen? And we're just going to see if they sign top players or they go for project players again. We're waiting. And can Mikel Arteta do it next season? Let me know in the comments. Hit that like button if you are here, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I will see you guys in the next video.